What's so special about the EOTech EXPS3? Does it have shake awake? Is it good enough for professional applications like law enforcement? Hi, I'm Tina from Tamers, and today I'm reviewing the EOTech EXPS3-0 holographic sight to answer these questions and more. Given how popular it is, we figured it was about time we got one, so we purchased one online just like everyone else would. Even with the worries of counterfeits online, we landed a genuine model, so I'll show you things to look for if you're worried about getting a fake. I'll also cover the specs, build quality from its turrets to specialty features, and applications it's best suited to. So to start this review, let's cover the must-know specs. It's non-magnified. It has a 1.2 inch by 0.85 inch, so 30 by 23 millimeter viewing window. It has 20 daylight settings, 10 night vision settings, 1,000-hour battery runtime on a CR1238 battery, half MOA turret adjustments. It comes with a quick detach mount. It is 3.8 by 2.3 by 2.9 inches in size. It weighs 11.2 ounces and it's made in Michigan, USA. To help you understand how the EXPS3 is different to EOTech's other holographic sights, well, the E in the EXPS indicates that it has side-facing buttons and it comes on a quick detach mount. The 3, the EXPS3, indicates that it is a night vision compatible optic, whereas the 2, EXPS2, is the non-night vision model. Now, the very last number separated by a dash, in this case a -0, indicates that it has the standard reticle, one single 1 MOA center dot surrounded by a 68 MOA ring. If it ended in a -2 or a -4, it just means that it has either 2 or 4 aiming dots in the middle surrounded by that 68 MOA ring. Build quality. Did I torture test the EXPS3? No, I did not. Did I want to? No, I did not. It's been made fit for military and law enforcement applications, and there are tons of existing torture tests online. So I didn't feel the need to have to replicate them. The most abuse it has seen in my ownership is some drop testing, a lot of use in heavy rain, and I did submerge it. That is something I'm always willing to do, no hesitation on my part, and there's been no question of performance since I did put it into a washing machine. It is nitrogen purged, so it is fog proof, and it is waterproof resistant to 33 feet, so 10 meters. So yeah, it's going to handle any realistic situation that I'm ever in, which is mostly the rain. So I did zero it in the rain to 100 yards. It was difficult to see the target with the water droplets on there, so I did give it a wipe with a dry cloth to clear up that field of view. Now you should be using a moistened cloth to clean the lenses because it does have anti-reflective coatings on there, and so you never want to use a dry cloth on a dry lens. You'll notice that the EXPS models have side-facing buttons, which is excellent for running a magnifier behind it. And they are genuine ones, are made in the USA, usually confirmed by the sticker on the underside that will say this. It has an aluminum hood covering the optics assembly and most of the body, really high quality. And if for some reason that one of those lenses break, you're still going to be able to run the holo sight. Now that is a major advantage of holographic sights versus red dots. So overall, excellent build quality. Turret quality. So the windage and elevation turrets are recessed into the body and reference marked. It doesn't come with anything in the box to make adjustments with, but that's easily remedied with whatever you have on hand. Bullet casing, coin, or a flathead screwdriver. I really don't see any way that you're going to accidentally make unintentional adjustments to the turret. So thumbs up there. Now turrets have half MOA adjustments with a total of 40 MOA in travel. This is where it gets interesting, is the adjustments are not as loud as I thought they would be. I heard somewhere that this is done intentionally per military requirements. It didn't bother me. I did have to pay attention to hear it, but not a problem. What did really interest me is that the counterclockwise adjustments, so up and left, were borderline soft. Definitely not as crisp as I expected them to be, and as crisp as they are in the clockwise motion. Now the suspicion is that there's some small amount of debris on the tiny coil spring underneath the cup, underneath the dials, and to remedy this you would put a small amount of WD-40 on there, give the turret some twisting and to help improve the feel of the turrets, and if that doesn't work then you have to send it into EOTech. This really disappoints me and upsets me because for something that's so expensive and it's brand new, I expected more from the turrets out of the box. So definitely not my favorite to begin with, but I think it's one of those fluke things and not the general rule for EXPS3s because I can't seem to find anyone else who has this issue. When it comes to zeroing, I opted for a 100-yard zero. My groups were inside 4 to 5 inches. It's really hard for me not to get into that chasing groups mentality. So I'll call that a win for my skill level, which is average. I do have to disclose that it did not hold zero for me on my last range session. So can I blame that entirely on the optic and the mount? No, I cannot. Because of the work I do, I'm consistently taking it off, putting it back on, and messing with it in between range sessions. So when I went back, I was only off in elevation about 1 or 2 inches low. I made the adjustments to return to zero, and it was a non-issue for the rest of my session there. So the whole lesson takeaway from this is to try not to remove it from your firearm too much, and if you do, be as repeatable and consistent as you possibly can be when mounting it back to your firearm after you have removed it. Considering all that I did in between its first zeroing and second zeroing, I would say that the EXPS3 did pretty darn good to only be off 1 or 2 inches. Mounting, the first thing I want to point out is which is the front side and which is the back side. And this is not a dumb question to ask, especially for those who are new to running a holographic sight. Now the front side, the part that faces outwards towards the target away from you, is the protruding part of the optic, so the battery compartment, that way. The flat side is the back, the rear side, and that is the part that faces you, that you see. And only by looking through the sight this way will you be able to see the reticle. If you were to try to look through the sight from the front portion, you won't be able to see any illumination at all. So that's a quick identifying way as to which is the front and which is the back. The EXPS3 comes with a quick detach mount. It puts it at a height for a lower third co-witness with sights. The mount is awesome. It fits on a Picatinny and 1-inch Weaver rails. So how do you mount it? You have a side locking latch that you must push in, which allows you to pull out the lever. You can't lift the lever if this latch isn't engaged. Lifting the latch expands the clamping fit, and the crossbolt sits in the rail slot. Fit it over the rail and snap that lever back down. If for some reason it's not fitting properly to the rail, you'll want to adjust the adjustment nut. Take it off the rail, leave the quick detach lever open, and either loosen or tighten the adjustment nut. EOTech warns never to make an adjustment with the quick detach lever closed, so don't do this while it's sitting on the rail. Illumination, just awesome. It has 20 daylight illumination settings, and I have no idea what setting I set in most of the time. You know, you're adjusting for the conditions. So while I was at the range, I tend to have it turned down lower, but when I was out observing with it in town where the sun's out, there's a lot of white surfaces like white buildings, I tend to crank up that illumination. Now max illumination is really bright, and I haven't had to depend on it yet, and those dimmer settings are excellent for low light conditions, no starbursting, blooming, or washing out of the field of view. I do want to say that everyone might see that illumination a little bit differently. For example, while I was at the range with a friend who works for local law enforcement, he thought that I had turned off the illumination when actually I just had it down dim, where I thought his preferred setting was a little bit too bright for me. So it just goes to show, with the wide illumination adjustability that you have in there, you'll always find the ideal setting for your visual acuity, the terrains, and the conditions. Now there are 10 night vision compatible illumination settings, and they can only be seen with the use of a night vision device, and they are accessible via the independent night vision button. Reticle. So it's not just a donut of death reticle that makes it a fast target acquisition sight. It's the fact that the hologram appears to be superimposed on the target, putting them on the same focal plane, so that it makes it very fast to use without shifting focus. Since this is the -0 model, it has one single aiming dot, so a 1 MOA dot inside a 68 MOA ring. Now a lot of people tend to focus on the fuzzy appearance of the reticle. So if you're just holding it in your hand and staring at the reticle, yeah, it's going to look really bad. Instead, look through it to your target and you'll see how quickly that ring sharpens up. You can also adjust the illumination settings, so crank it down a little bit to tame the reticle, so to speak. EXPS3 and the Reticle and Astigmatism. Now I didn't have to wear my corrective lenses with the EXPS3, but I was seeing that dot as a tiny little itty bitty smear. Now if I put my glasses back on, yeah, I had that dot, but then I was compromising the image quality at distance. So I went without them. I was getting groups inside 4 to 5 inches. And honestly, even if I still had a really perfect dot, I doubt I could have done better than that anyway. Now, the cop friend that I had with me at the range, he has both astigmatism and is nearsighted. And without his glasses, he was seeing that dot as more like a percentage symbol, percentage sign. But he wears his glasses all the time, so it would have been no different for him to continue wearing them at the range. And with it, he had no issues working with the EXPS3 or the Reticle. So the reticle and use with a magnifier. So yes, the reticle in the EXPS3 does get bigger when you put a magnifier behind it. But it's still the same size. It's still a 1 MOA dot and a 68 MOA ring, because it's still only covering up as much of the target as it was when it didn't have magnification. You following? So to prove this point, I put the Juliet Magnifier 3 behind the EXPS3, and lo and behold, you can clearly see that the reticle got bigger, but it remains the same size in relation to the target. So it does appear bigger, but it's still covering up the same amount of space on the target as it did without a magnifier. EOTech has their own magnifiers that you can use behind the EXPS3, but just like as much as it costs for this unit, expect to spend some moolah for it. Reticle and range estimations. You can use the reticle for ranging. EOTech has a fantastic demonstration on how this works. Honestly, I don't know that I'd use it for this purpose, but even for a quick reference, it does provide a basic idea of distance. So basically, a 5'8" person, if it fills the ring, you can assume that they're at about 100 yards. The reticle and ballistic aiming points. So the -0 reticle technically serves 3 aiming points. According to EOTech, it's calibrated for the 223 round, so if you zero at 50 yards, the aiming dot is also going to serve you at 200 yards. The base of the ring will put you at 7 yards. Now, just like any other BDC reticle, if you're using any other load other than the one stated by the manufacturer that it's calibrated for, you're going to have to go out there and figure out the range estimations for those aiming points yourself. Intermission time. I'm taking a quick second to remind you guys that if you're enjoying and finding this information helpful on the EXPS3, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. It helps us grow, and to our existing subscribers and supporters, you're the best. Battery runtime. So this may be the only legitimate drawback to the EXPS3 is its battery runtime. So laser diodes consume a lot more power than the LEDs seen in red dot sites, so it can't compete with a red dot in terms of battery runtime. The EXPS3 has 1,000 hours used at setting 12 in normal conditions. Now I've had mine on for over a month and it hasn't failed me yet, and I have no idea when it's going to fail me, but apparently that auto-off is doing its job. Now, there are signs to look for. So a flashing or blinking reticle when you power it on, that's because the EXPS3 is running a battery check every time it's turned on, or a flashing blinking reticle during recoil, and this will usually happen when it's reached about 20% of its life. It's not going to fade or dim on you, it's just going to die abruptly. Now it's powered by a single CR123A battery. Those, in my opinion, are kind of expensive, so my recommendation is buy bulk and practice good habits of keeping a spare on you and changing out the battery for a new one when you anticipate a new mission. Specialty features, the HUD. So the EXPS3 has a 1.2 by 0.85 inch viewing window in the HUD heads-up display design. This design is largely shared between pistol red dot sights and holographic sights. Now that they both have unlimited field of view, the larger viewing window actually makes it a lot easier to use with two eyes open and inevitably makes it faster to use. So with those benefits come improved peripheral vision and situational awareness. Auto-off. I'm going to answer a question that was asked earlier, and that was, does the EXPS3 have shake awake? It does not. Shake awake is a term by Holosun used to describe their motion activation sensor technology, which the EXPS3 does not have. What it does have is automatic off. So from an off position, if you press the up button, it's going to power down automatically after 8 hours. If you push the down button, it's going to automatically power down after 4 hours. Now, that sleep timer starts from the last button press, so it makes it really versatile, especially for hunters who are considering using the EXPS3. It's not suddenly just going to die on you. 8 hours is a long time to go without pressing a button here and there. Night vision compatible, yes it is, because it ends in a 3. Remember, EXPS3, it is night vision compatible. So it has 10 night vision illumination settings, which you cannot see with the naked eye. You can only see them with use of a night vision device. Now, one thing you do want to take note of is make sure the sight is off first before you start using it with your night vision device. And then you go ahead and push the dedicated night vision button to activate it. If you don't, you could accidentally turn it on, which will toggle it into normal mode, and then it will saturate your IIT, your image intensifier tube, and that would be pretty bad. It is compatible with night vision devices with generation 1 tubes all the way up to 3+. Now, it's I think it's worth noting that it is a passive device, so other night vision users will not be able to detect you because of your EOTech EXPS3. Now, if you're running an IR illuminator, well, that's another story. How to spot a counterfeit EOTech. One of the best ways to do it is to hit that night vision button really quick, and if you're getting green illumination, it's a fake. So EOTech will never use dual illumination in their products. It's either one color, red, or it's green, because they're not going to use two laser diodes. What should happen when you turn on that night vision button is you don't see anything unless you're using it with an NVD. Another quick way is to take a quick look at the underside. You should have all the appropriate stickers and stampings on there that indicate the model number, where it's made, when it was made, etc. You can take a quick look at the buttons and how they're made. It's better if you just take a look at the demonstration on the EOTech site, better than me trying to explain it, but the buttons are bigger on a genuine EOTech. You'll also want to look at the glass. If you're getting major tinting and reflections like you would see in a red dot sight, that's another giveaway. And lastly, when you have the illumination on, you should see it, right? You should see the reticle and the illumination when you're looking at it through the rear side, the side that you're supposed to. But when you look at it from the front, you should see no illumination at all. In a red dot sight, you would technically see that LED. In a holographic sight, there should be nothing giving you away. No illumination and no sight of the laser diode. And that's how you spot an EOTech fake. Well, a couple ways to spot a fake. Applications: CQB, home defense, and law enforcement. I honestly think that the EXPS3 is suitable for all of those applications. Yes, the battery runtime may be a drawback for you, but then think about its benefits. It may outweigh its downside, and that is it has a large viewing window. It's so fast and easy to use. Leos I know well say that in high stress engagements, they experience it with what I guess you could call slow motion. So thinking, decision making, and acting on those decisions seem to happen faster. Now, having a sight with the previous mentioned benefits can be a great advantage to survival. Honestly though, the Leos I know take good care of their firearms, optics, and they practice and train often. And with as much time as they spend with them, they've expressed that changing out the batteries is of little consequence because it's expected as a maintenance procedure. Now, home defense shooters are no exception to the rule, just like those in law enforcement and professional applications. You must train and practice with your firearm, and that means every time you go to grab for your rifle that you simultaneously hit an up or down button to turn it on. Now, there are red dot sights with, shake awake, MOTAC, or continuous on red dot sights that eliminate that step for you. But if you're going to go with a holographic sight, that's something you must train and practice to do, is grab that rifle and turn it on. Hunting, hogs, coyotes, foxes inside 200 yards, why not? You can probably even get further than that if you know what you're doing and you practice for it. Now, really good for fast target acquisition, which is what you need, and really good if you're mobile or even your targets are on the move. Now, it's going to handle the conditions that you're in: fog proof, waterproof, and it's not a sub MOA precision optic. That's not what it's for, but it will definitely get you into the kill zone. And that auto off, it's a non-issue. I mean, hit a button and that 8-hour timer starts again. Target shooting and plinking, honestly, it's overkill. For recreational work and even for some range work, you'll do better with a red dot sight, and it's going to be a heck of a lot cheaper than the EXPS3. In closing and overall, the EOTech EXPS3-0 holographic sight has been an amazing sight to play with. I've put hundreds of rounds downrange with the EXPS3. I submerged it into a washing machine. I've had a lot of fun with it. Going forward, it's going to go on a duty FN15 series AR-15 for some professional work, and maybe this winter I'll see if I'll give it a whirl with coyotes after elk hunting season is over. I know we covered a lot in this review, but I felt like the EXPS3 was deserving of an extensive coverage analysis. So thanks for sticking it out with me, everyone. The written review to this will be in a link below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and get outside.